right, well, I got the...
Hello, everybody. Welcome to a nice Zelda 2 random standard tournament match between jkoper and RoseCitySaint. Got Frico and Jackamus here in the booth. I'll let them take over.
Hello, all you handsome and beautiful humans out there. I am Jackamus Wedge. Tonight, I am joined by my partner in crime, Frico. How you doing, Frico?
All right, had to do a little mental reset after the last match. So, for those of you that have seen the first match, we are not just fast forwarding to the finals. This actually is a round one pairing of jkoper and RoseCitySaint for the standard tournament. I like to see the marquee matches like this coming up. But unfortunately, it also means that one of these runners has to take a loss. So they're going to terrorize somebody in the 0-1 bracket. It's so tough to think that, oh no, if I lose the first round, I could end up being against a loser here. But we are underway for jkoper and RoseCitySaint.
We most certainly are, Frico, and as you alluded to, I think this is going to be a very excellent race indeed. Right away, we have Koper finding the Medicine Cave, and RCS is going to head in a slightly different direction. Looks like he's found a pass-through cave here, thinks about it, and maybe don't want to pass through quite yet. Gonna go have a look at this other cave, which we know is Medicine Cave.
And soon we'll figure out what's at the end of it. It looks like a Gorilla, a Moblin, and hopefully an item of some value to jkoper. Oh, a Gorilla getting in the way.
Not too difficult, not
looks
profitable,
like
but there is a hammer. Yeah. Stop. Hammer time.
Can't touch this. Oh.
Well, I could touch that, but you're an indeterminate amount of kilometers away from where I'm broadcasting from.
Well, social distancing and all, But I believe, since we can actually see that the bracket, the Swiss flags start us with the candle, and now RoseCitySaint and jkoper both have the hammer on top of that. So I believe Jackamus is doing double duty for tracking, so there we go. The board's starting to light up as jkoper has found himself into another cave, but taking a death to a Dyra.
That's why we call them diarrhea. And yes, I am in fact doing the tracking. I apologize for the very slight delay there. Apparently, I had to click a button outside of the browser window for it to allow me to click on what they picked up. That's my bad.
Well, we almost had Shadow Magi. Almost had him, but not quite. Looks like jkoper picking up a magic jar. RoseCitySaint at the beginning of the cave, going to pick up that same magic jar.
Yeah, always a nice find in the randomizer. Spells are typically very useful. There's only a couple that you'd pick up that it's like, I'm not too happy to see that, but for the most part, spells are great. So far, progression fairly similar between our two runners. Koper slightly ahead from going right into the Medicine Cave, whereas RCS looked around a little bit more. But they've both picked up a hammer and a magic jar and are both at levels 2, 1, 2.
Oh, jkoper's about to fix that, though. He hit the Western Continent jackpot with a 700-point P-bag dropping. So he is about 30 points away from picking up what should be attack 3 straight away. So this should give jkoper an advantage of some kind. Ooh, RoseCitySaint finding Hammer Cave. jkoper finding...
A numerical advantage, perhaps, but yeah, as you mentioned, RCS has already found Hammer Cave inside of Death Mountain. Koper, meanwhile, is inside a Vanilla Heart Container Cave. Each player is going to get an item. Koper gets the trophy.
Alright, so let's see if that leads to a spell, and RoseCitySaint equaling out the P-bag situation as jkoper and Rose City Saint both finding a single 700-point P-bag in the drop pool at this point. So the numerical advantage being nullified by both runners finding that P-bag. Oh, jkoper.
Both at 313 for stats right now. Or sorry, Coper's still at 312. So it's about 100 and change experience point gap between the two of them at the moment. Nothing insurmountable, and levels, useful as they are, do not necessarily determine your progression or ability to finish.
Well, I would argue ever so slightly for having higher attack levels being better. But, you know, Rose City Saint going into the Hammer Cave and finding boots is definitely far more potentially important toward finishing the seed, especially if there's any kind of boot-blocked area that would otherwise be inaccessible.
Absolutely. Rose City Saint has just leveled up into Rose City Messiah with those boots pickup.
I like it. Alright, looks like jkoper's still on the exploration side of things, heading southwest. Gonna find a palace and a town, although I don't think he'll be too interested in either. Ooh, another town on top of it.
Well, you do at least want to see what the towns have to offer. In this case, it's Jump Town. Took him a moment to just kind of go, wait a minute, is this that town? Is that this other town? But jkoper does have the trophy, so he's going to be able to pick up. He's going to be able to pick up his first spell here. And Death Mountain holds the raft is the hint that we just got there. So RCS finding the boots in Death Mountain. So we know that Spectacle Rock is where the raft is going to be found.
Well, for those of you that watched the first seed, the race with Chromaticalism and Victor Santa Fe, we saw Death Mountain not yielding the greatest of results. I believe Junk and Junk were the items in Death Mountain, but this particular run, we've got boots and raft. The raft absolutely required. The boots, almost certainly one of the best quality of life upgrades you can get, if not fully required.
Yeah. Whether or not they're required remains to be seen. Coper's seen the Great Palace, so we know that that's on the west side. No item here for RCS, but it is a 700-point bag again. Gonna accelerate the experience there. And Coper here inside of Lifetown is gonna pick up another spell before long, and no hint there, unfortunately.
Yeah, that is a little unfortunate that jkoper not picking up a hint. But gonna find the mirror for the spell. I believe it's a mirror that's hiding under the table.
It is allegedly a mirror. The game does not actually show us what it is. And there's a fairy spell for jkoper. Very nice.
Alright, so that is going to potentially allow jkoper to be a little more curious when it comes to poking his head into palaces. With the fairy spell, the game will consider progression inside of the palaces since you have a way to navigate through. That you may not be able to actually cast fairy is beyond the scope of the randomizer.
But that's easily remedied by leveling up. And of course, what Frico means for those of you uninformed, the fairy spell turns you into a tiny fairy. You can fly around, and you're small enough to fly through keyholes. So you don't necessarily need keys anymore to get through dungeons if you have enough mana and the fairy spell. And Coper is now heading over to Death Mountain as RCS picks up his fairy spell.
Oh, so it looks like a little bit of a handshake with our runners. Rose City Saint maybe a little bit behind. But we'll see jkoper navigating through the Hammer Cave, finding it straight away. So this will yield him the boots. Rose City Saint finding Great Palace.
Yeah, so it's pretty much going to be a dead heat here. I mean, Koper has found the trophy, but that just led to the shield spell. Fantastic quality of life spell, doubling your defense until you exit the screen, but not required to finish the game. So once Koper picks up these boots in 2 screens time, well, both of our runners are going to be pretty much dead even. Only difference is Koper has a shield spell, and RCS has a slightly higher magic level.
Yeah, I'm not sure who I want to give the advantage to, and to be honest, there was a boulder up here that RoseCitySaint should at least see on his screen. I know it's not Spectacle Rock, because Spectacle Rock would be in Death Mountain, but this will be an item cave of some manner. RoseCitySaint needs to go up the path instead of into this cave, but...
Right, you are, Freako. If there is a boulder in front of an entrance, you can be guaranteed to find an item in there.
Uh-oh. Well, sounds like something dropped over there, but it was actually just a boulder.
Something did in fact drop over here. Very unexpected, but all present are accounted for alive and unharmed. I'm pretty sure we will be okay on this end.
Oh, well, I mean, if you need a minute to, sort things out, then, hey, first things first. I can hold the fort for a bit if you need be.
Nope. Our tech crew is on top of things here. We are good to go, Freako.
All right. Just, want to make sure everything's good on your side. As it looks like jkoper picking up another spell. RoseCitySaint, oh, actually, that's not a spell at all. That is downstab.
Nope, flew up with Fairy to get the downstab. One of probably the primo sword technique of the game. It allows you to do the Mario on your opponents.
Yeah, very true. I'm actually a little interested, if not worried, as to why jkoper and RoseCitySaint are not going to break the boulder at the end of this dead-end area. Can you give a little bit of insight as to if you were to have, put yourself in a runner's shoes, perhaps? Do you completely ignore that boulder since it's just out in the middle of nowhere? There's nothing you could gain by breaking it?
If it's not in front of a cave, it's not blocking an item necessarily. I'd be willing to explore the continent more. What I'm wondering a bit here is as to why jkoper hasn't gone back into Death Mountain yet, because he knows for sure with the hint that he got that the raft is there. It's under Spectacle Rock.
He does have the hammer as well, so... this is why I'm kind of going, alright, why would I not continue into Death Mountain? Because I put myself into, okay, what would I do if I were running this seed? And with the hint with the raft, I have the hammer. It seems like the logical progression, at minimum, is to at least get the raft.
Well, there's always the possibility that because jkoper knows where the raft is, he's more willing to have a look around on the west side and see what else it has. The raft is something he could theoretically pick up at any time at this point, since he knows exactly where it is, so he might be feeling confident for that reason. Just willing to explore a little more, knowing that the raft is going to be where it is. And from what we saw of Death Mountain, it's not like Spectacle Rock is completely free to get to either.
That is true. I mean, I know the raft is there though, so it's like, okay, I'm gonna have to do this one way or another. So get it done and over with, or would you just say, okay, I know where the raft is, at least in theory? Because it looks like the runners are, at least jkoper and RoseCitySaint have ended up poking their head in that particular cave like 4 times now. I'm not sure if it's just to reset the encounter timer or what, but it feels like they're not finding anything that immediately leads to, any other form of progression.
Right you are, but there's still a lot of unseen areas here on the western side, so it's not necessarily time to be diving right through any pass-through caves just yet. And, well, both of them have picked up the downstab now and seen the hint. We know that the magic key is going to be in Palace 3, wherever that may be.
Ooh, Palace 3 holding a, well, I guess not a core item, but definitely quality of life. If they happen upon Palace 3 sooner rather than later, that kind of takes the fairy out of the equation to some extent. You may still need it in areas. However, the key doesn't use magic, so one of those quality of life upgrades that instead of having to use fairy, potentially take a death to continue into a palace, now you can just, well, all the locks are free. They may as well not even be there.
Yeah, and, I think it's a case where once they get to Palace 3, since they know that it's there, they probably take the 10 to 15 seconds to pick it up if they happen to find the treasure room before the boss. You always have to explore dungeons going to the right if you're looking for the boss and the gem to place, but in Palaces 3, 4, and 6, the item is also found by going to the right. So it's not a bad place for it to be, for it being a not required, but definitely useful item here.
That's actually good dungeon knowledge. So it was 3, 4, and 6, you said, that have the item room to the right.
That is quite right, Frico.
I should start taking notes about these minor little details.
Get your notepad out. I am full of ancient wisdom.
Well, I got the ancient part down pat, but the wisdom side of things, that could use a little work. But it does look like jkoper has found some level of ability to explore Death Mountain, finding some part of the coast.
Yeah, jkoper's on the coast trying to look around the open areas. RCS is just through caves. RCS actually isn't too far away from jkoper. We've got both of them at the exact same levels and progression right now, so both of them are looking for that raft. It's going to be who finds the raft first is the first person that we can officially give an edge to early on in this race.
Yeah, very true. Oh, jkoper actually hesitating a little, not sure what he wanted to level up.
Sometimes you want to be a little choosy about what you level up depending on the spells you have. Personally, I'll just take whatever level I'm gonna get and deal with it, but there are times if you have like a very expensive fairy or thunder or reflect spell, maybe you want to take some extra magic levels and try to get the cost down.
Well, I'm never going to say no when I get a chance to level my attack. When it comes to... Oh, we have a Spectacle Rock sighting. I've seen it on jkoper's screen. I'm not sure if he has direct access to it or not.
It's just a matter of being able to get there now.
It did not look like it, but...
Well, this series of caves isn't going to do it. It's a one-way cave. It's surrounded by mountains, so this is the correct way, perhaps? Hard to tell. Death Mountain is quite the maze.
Oh, RoseCitySaint and jkoper are in the same area, I think in the same cave now at this point.
Yeah, the exact same cave. Right you are, Frico. RCS heads south and doesn't see what he wants. jkoper also heading south, and yeah, very similar thing, but Koper not getting stuck into a random encounter there. And RCS is going to head into the same cave. These guys are doing like the exact same exploration of Death Mountain right now. This is a really close race, all you fantastic humans watching right now. I hope you're enjoying what we've got going on so far.
Yeah, knowing these runners and how good they are, I would really expect nothing less, and it may just be the difference between finding Spectacle Rock and, doing something with it, progressing with the raft, be it going east perhaps, whichever one of these runners gets that advantage, that may be the difference.
It certainly could be a deal breaker, even this early on. Yeah, with both of our runners with the same progression and looking for the same item right now. Having seen basically the exact same amount of the Western continent, there's a couple things on the West we haven't seen yet, but we will see before the end of this. All palaces are required under these flags, after all, and it looks like RCS is going to be the first to Spectacle Rock once he can get out of this random encounter, because it's right over there.
Oh, wow. So RoseCitySaint getting a pretty big advantage, just going to immediately up an A. Get out of there, and let's see what RoseCitySaint can do.
And not too far behind is jkoper finding an alternate path to that raft, so still very, very close. Maybe a 10-second difference between the two of them right now.
I was counting it off, and it was probably somewhere in the area of 5 or 6 seconds, just from the timer. So, wow. This is going to be a close one for sure. Now it's a matter of, alright, what can you do now that you have the boots in the raft? I do not believe we have seen the raft tile as of yet, so neither runner will be immediately able to just sail off to the east.
No, raft tile has not been seen yet, but there's only so many places it can be. All comes down to, if you want to go the raft way first, you certainly can. RCS thinking that maybe you do have to pass through a cave to get there is going to take the fall into the grave, into a ferry, and go. jkoper doing the exact same thing right behind him here.
Yeah.
This is quite the race to watch, I have to say. We've got two very talented runners, and both of them thinking very, very much alike right now in terms of their overall movements and exploration. We've got a new cave found for RCS here, Trophy Cave. Could be an item that's useful at the end, or could be nothing useful. We'll find out momentarily. It's going to be the flute. Flute could be a required item.
Yeah, it's a 50-50 shot on if Three-Eyed Rock is a thing. And, well, we all know the River Devil can sometimes be a hindrance and sometimes just kind of be out and about like he was in the previous seed that our runners went through. So, to be honest, it's a little early to determine if we found an item that is going to be useful or not at this point.
But ultimately, it's not going to decide the race because, just like with the raft, jkoper right behind RCS and picking up that flute.
Well, that looks like a raft spot to me.
I believe that is the raft spot indeed, Freako, that we've just seen on jkoper's side here. But still a couple of things to find on the west, like this grass tile that RCS just went to. It's a heart container, another quality of life item, but more importantly, just to the west of that is another palace.
Alright,
so and this is going to be Palace. It's going to be Palace 5, is what RCS just found. jkoper also going to pick up that heart container right behind RCS, as per what's been going on for the last 5 or 6 minutes. He's also going to see that this is Palace 5. Strike the statue, nothing there. And no, maybe not interested in Palace 5 just yet. And I can understand why. Palace 5 is typically the largest and most maze-like of the basic 6 palaces. The key item in this randomizer, more than 99% of the time, is that glove. You don't necessarily want to try to dig a glove a potential glove, I should say, out of Palace 5 this early on, when there's so many other options available. We've got Palace 4 as well here on the west side, on jkoper's side. Not going to head into there. No Reflect Spell yet. Can't defeat K-Rock. So, on the eastern continent, once we head over there, we are going to have Palaces 1, 2, 3, and 6 spread out.
Well, look at what we found straight away. Old Kasuto and Three-Eyed Rock just to the north of it. So that flute was definitely going to pay dividends. So now we get to see, in very short order, I would presume, which palace we have. RoseCitySaint probably going to head up there, if only for information at least. Poke his head in, see what palace we have.
Yeah, it really can't hurt, and both players finding that Reflect Spell. It's 3 or 6, can't really determine which one it is until they go further in. RCS is saying, no, maybe not yet. And looks like he's going to have a further look around the east side here. Koper picks up his Reflect Spell as well. He'll be the first to that southern cave. It's a pass-through. Koper turning around, as is RCS. They're basically dead even yet again here, folks. This is a tight race. You have to love it.
This almost
Koper's
feels
gonna
like I'm...
check the palace. It's 3 or 6. He thinks about it, and he turns around as well. And the reason why they're both turning around, knowing that it's 3 or 6, is that both palaces 3 and 6 have rooms, potentially, depending on how the palace is laid out, where you're going to need a glove to get through them. And they don't have that glove yet, so it's like, it's kind of a risk to go in here. But the interesting thing is that the glove could still be in that palace. You never know.
Well, if we pick up a hint to let us know where it is, then we would. But so far, we've ended up finding pretty much every palace that is going to be problematic to try to dive into. Palace 4, you could maybe get an item from. It looks like we've found on RoseCitySaint side of things the other 3-6.
Koper's gone in a different direction, has walked through the long desert area. The desert tile that he found after walking through there is just a pea bag spot. So unfortunate there. RCS going to hopefully find an item in this cave. There's a red Lizalfo, not the end of the world. There's the child for RCS. Child is another item that you need to unlock spells. jkoper heading into a forest tile here. Not a bad idea on the eastern continent. They tend to have a lot of, as you can see, point bags in them. So there's a nice chunk of change for Koper, and looks like he's going to save up for attack level 5 right now.
That is actually a little interesting. I would have figured Koper to pick up the magic level. He's about 900 plus points away from picking up just under 900. So let's see, is he gonna be let in? Oh no.
Need 6 magic containers, so we're 1 short at the hint inside Hidden Town is I'm nothing. Koper's gonna take a couple seconds to refill magic and life, and always a good play whenever you find a town. Or maybe not gonna refill life, probably gonna do it on the way back though, I would say. RCS has already headed back to Reflect Town to cash in that child. And gonna pick up the upstab on the way as well. jkoper finds the spell inside of Spell Town, go figure.
Oh, that's convenient.
I think Dig Shake done goofed on that. But that's good news for Koper. I didn't see the cost of it, but if it's affordable, which I'm assuming it's not since he's turning around here, there's another item that's very easily obtainable in that town.
Yeah, it does look like...
RCS, we'll see what spell he's going to pick up on the next screen here.
I was going to say, it does look like jkoper's just heading out of there, so Spell, unfortunately, just... for the record, the old lady can't ask for 8 magic containers. It's 5, 6, or 7. The old man in Old Kasuto could ask for 8. but it looks like RoseCitySaint finding Thunder, so...
Yeah, child required to pick up Thunder. So that's good for RCS. Koper finds another magic container on the ocean. So he's going to head right back to the Hidden Town. He's got 6 magic containers. He can pick up this item. And I'd assume with 6 magic containers, he should be able to cast that spell, and we'll see what's on the edge of town as well.
Well, ooh, Barba slithers with something I could not see.
jkoper's a legendary speed reader. Nothing I could do about that either. Magic containers only leading to a 700 point bag. Not progression, but still a nice chunk of change.
So, chat saying it's a 500 point P bag. So, Palace 6? Yeah, just go right to the boss. We don't need that item. RoseCitySaint finding a magic jar.
Yeah, finding a magic container in the other cave rule that does have a pickup. Koper off to cast that spell. We'll see what's at the back of the town here. Our racers are on very different paths now after being pretty much neck and neck on what they were doing for a while there. It's another magic container, so we've seen all magic containers between both of our racers here. RCS is over to the Maze Island, so potential couple of pickups here on the overworld and a dungeon as well.
Yeah, the palace on Maze Island would normally be Palace 4, but it looks like we found Palace 1 instead.
Yeah, so this is pretty much a freebie at this point. Levels 4, 4, 4, Fairy Spell in tow. Unless there's some really nasty combinations of enemies in here, RCS should be able to full clear this. And you have to think that RCS is going to probably look for the item before the boss, as that glove is still at large in this race.
Yeah, the glove looks like it's going to be the major sticking point, potentially, for the runners, and I'm not sure if RoseCitySaint is going to have the ability to cast Fairy twice. It looks like, unless he casts a spell, Fairy costs a little too much right now to be able to cast twice, which may actually hinder him some.
Well, RCS is going to go for the boss first, at the very least here. Horsehead not going to be a problem to attack for, and especially with rolling lower max health than normal. So RCS is going to place his first gem here momentarily.
Alright, so 31 minutes, 10 seconds in, RoseCitySaint scoring the first dunking of a crystal in this game. So RoseCitySaint should find his way through Maze Island to pick up the 2 other items. jkoper pretty much knocking on the door of Maze Island, but not going in.
Well, Koper's going to be the first to attack 5. Leveling strategies diverging a little bit here, for sure. Koper finds another pass-through cave isn't interested. RCS is going to definitely try to hunt down the free items in Maze Island before looking through for Palace 1. jkoper finds the first of the 2 item caves. We saw RCS in here earlier, so this is going to be the child for jkoper.
And as we know from the side of RoseCitySaint, the child leading to Thunder. So jkoper, once he brings the child back, will have Thunder and have all of the required spells. RoseCitySaint finding the first drop point. And, oh, the cross. Not exactly the greatest of items.
It's another one of those quality of life items. Those invisible enemies can be pretty nasty in a few areas, but ultimately the cross is never required to finish one of these seeds in this randomizer.
Yeah, for those that watched the first race on here between Chromaclism and Victor Santa Fe, I believe it was Victor that got savaged a couple times by invisible Moas just annihilating his life bar. But aside from that, the cross is definitely a quality of life upgrade and little more.
Well, so, if you'll forgive me for saying, I think Victor needed Moa Cross.
Alright, well, it looks like RoseCitySaint trying to fairy feet through an encounter tile, but unfortunately unable to do so. So going to just, lower the shoulder and run through the blockers there, making it to the other side of the encounter.
Fairy feet, not the easiest trick to pull off. It's either frame or pixel perfect, depending on the way that you... There's some room for error, but if you miss it the wrong way, you just wasted some MP. It can save about, I don't know, on average, I'd say 6 or 7 seconds to skip passing through an area. Anyway, RCS has found the other location on Maze Island, just a heart container. Again, quality of life item, but not necessarily leading to progression. And RCS leaving Maze Island, perhaps not wanting to check what the item is in Palace 1 just yet, or perhaps he got a hint and knows that it's not worth picking up and we missed it. Because RCS, as we know, is, both of these runners are, I would say, probably, at bare minimum, top 10, maybe top 5 in the entire Zelda 2 randomizer community. So seeing RCS ignore what's not a long item to dig out of Palace 1, there must have been a hint, and we just didn't see it.
It's entirely possible. I don't want to confuse one seed from the next, but in the first race, we had the hammer in Palace 1. And for the record, RoseCitySaint, at least by the measurables of a scoreboard, I believe, is the number 1 runner. Trails, I believe, is the number 2 runner. And after that, it could be just about anyone. But, all told, a ranking is not going to win you a race, especially when you're up against an opponent the quality of someone like jkoper.
Absolutely right you are, Frico. We've got RCS inside the hidden town now as well. So he's going to pick up his point bag, spell, and presumably his final map container.
So it looks like jkoper doing the Maze Island shuffle, trying to get himself into the proper area of the map, which I believe he is on the right track at this point, just needs to follow it through. Instead, gonna opt out and head into Palace 1.
Yeah, Palace 1 for jkoper. Spell for RCS. Oh, he's a little tight to the door. Frames were lost. Bad RCS. Bad.
Oh no. Press F to pay respect to the frames that have just been murdered by RoseCitySaint.
No respect whatsoever. Those frames had families.
Hey, alright, well, jkoper is making his way through Palace 1, so we may see an item getting dug out of Palace 1, but jkoper also going, well, I'm not sure if intentionally or not, straight to Horsehead.
Well,
So
it's
with
going to
the-
work out for him based on how he's been leveling his character. This is going to be attack level 6 on top of the first gem, so huge attack power advantage, even though he's a little behind on magic and life compared to RCS.
Well, if you told me I was going to have any one particular level at 6, I would say yes, please, to attack immediately, because it's definitely the most expensive. jkoper could, if he wanted to, attempt to backfill his levels if he, goes for an attack 7, attack 8, or the ever so difficult to obtain attack 9, getting the experience for that down the road to backfill his magic and life levels. finding the first item, which is the cross in Maze Island.
It's definitely one way to go about it. Another option too is that Attack 6 is basically the standard at this point for fighting some of the final / more health inclined bosses. So if Coper wished, he could just start burning gems and save a little bit of time once he starts clearing palaces out. We'll just have to wait and see what he elects to do.
I would be a little hesitant to burn gems just because of Magic 3 right now. That's about the only reason why I think I would consider trying to backfill my levels to maybe sneak out 2 magic levels from what would otherwise be Attack 7 at this point. You know,
it's a matter of personal preference and how comfortable you are with the combat. So Coper finds the second item spot picks up his heart container, and just going to take an up an A and restart on the west side. RCS has a look at Palace 3 or 6. We don't know which one is which yet. I think Palace 2 is the only one that is still at large somewhere on the east. We know where every single other palace is at the moment. And as far as potential glove locations, I think we are now down to just the desert tile on east, which we haven't seen yet. And otherwise, it's going to be in one of the palaces. So, going to troll our racers just a little bit there if they maybe have to go into 2, 3, or 6 to find that glove. Still an option. Or it could be deep in the maze-like 5. This could be a longer seed than usual here, folks.
Yeah, that could be a problem. Neither runner actually getting the item out of Palace 1, so they must have gotten a hint that tells them what was in Palace 1. That's the only thing I can think of, and we somehow missed it.
I would definitely assume so at this point. Just because they're both high-tier runners, they know that the item is basically no time to get. So if they're actively ignoring it, they must have both gotten a hint, and both of us are apparently illiterate and couldn't figure it out.
Well, I did see the one hint that said Barba had the thing, but I couldn't tell exactly what thing that was.
Barba had some points bags, so it's not in 6. We can eliminate that at least. We've got Coper going into 4, and not too far behind RCS in 4 as well here.
Have we seen the Valley of Death yet? Because that has to be where Palace 2 is, if
it does have to be in the Valley of Death. Yes, you are absolutely right, Frico. And I've seen a lava tile, but I think it was just one of the pick up a pea bag and or magic refill lava tiles. Both exploring the dungeon in very similar ways so far, so with all things being equal, Coper a little bit ahead of RCS right now, maybe about half a minute or so. Coper's found the item in 4. Coper unfortunately lacking the magic to cast that fairy spell. So Coper's going to take an intentional death here. And you can see the difference in the casting cost. RCS at magic level 4 isn't going to have this issue, so he's going to catch up to Coper a little bit. Probably about a 10-second difference between them as they approach the item room inside Palace 4 here. Got a Demon Knocker in the way. Nobody likes those. It's just a heart container, so it's not the glove. Coper going to take an up and A because there's other ways to go at the start of the palace that could lead to the boss in a quicker fashion. Namely, because if you go back and take that drop, you're just getting back to that bridge room that they both had to cross earlier.
Well, both of the runners immediately up and A-ing after getting the item, which unfortunately not the glove that they were looking for.
We see a small mental mistake on Coper's side. He cast Fairy and headed through the lock that he'd already been through. Knows that there's nothing over that way, but basically an infinite loop and the items. So RCS is going to be back out in front here as we both explore Palace 4.
Yeah, that is unfortunately a mental error from jkoper's side of things. So, an unforced error like this potentially, putting jkoper at a deficit. They still have a significant part of Palace 4 to explore. So, you know what? jkoper may just end up gambling in a sense and picking the right direction. Looks like RoseCitySaint wasn't too thrilled with what he found. So
Well, we've
gonna
just
take the
one
elevator.
of those dead-end rooms that either has a key or a bag at the end. That's not what you're looking for here. I don't really expect to see a lead change in this palace here. The meta to find the boss is always go right, so we know right isn't the right way for jkoper here as he tries to hack down these blue iron knuckles. But you have to imagine he's going to go that way first. Yeah, he unlocks the door and he's off and going in that direction. So he's going to turn right around. And luckily, all you have to do is go down that elevator and go to the right and you get to K-Rock.
And so it won't take much time, but, this is the very thin margins that we're looking at between these two runners. The accidental mistake of jkoper using Fairy to kind of trap himself into the loop, causing an up and A, that's really the difference between the two runners at this point. We're looking at, jkoper taking a death gonna cost another couple
jkoper
seconds.
taking a necessary death there. His spells are still pretty expensive at Magic. And RCS Magic 5 as well. So Koper has his Reflect up. He'll be taking out K-Rock pretty soon. So, slight edge to RCS right now. There's still a lot of Randomizer left to go here, folks. So, it's still anyone's game, but RCS just a little bit out in front end. RCS is going to head into Palace 5. This is an interesting play, for sure.
I see the logic behind it, though. You're on the Western continent. Why not? It feels like if you can dig the item out, sure, okay. If it happens to be the glove,
play in jkoper's favor. He was able to stack the experience from K-Rock to push his gem into giving him about 5,000 points. So if he wants to, he could power level his magic and life right now and be at perhaps a nice solid 666 for all his levels and never have to worry about experience again if that's how he chooses. He's electing to go attack level 5.
I like it. This is attack level 7 for jkoper. So jkoper's just going all in on his attack levels. So it looks like he is going to try to go for attack level 9 to backfill his magic and life levels.
All the experience in the world. It's definitely a valid play. And I do realize I said it's 5 earlier. I want to tell you folks right now, and I'm sure my fellow Knuckleheads can agree, in Canada, 5 and 7 are the same number.
That's all right. Blame it on the screen, a bug in the screen or something like that. No big deal. But you know what? This is where we see a slight divergence and a potential advantage for jkoper. He will have probably attack 8 by the end of this palace, or at least when he's going to place the crystal in this palace, he will have attack 8. Let me phrase it properly. I don't think he'll be able to get it beforehand, because it's going to cost 7,000. Oh no!
He gets bopped into the lava there on death. Well, it's coming back to what you said, Frico. It's necessarily just the attack palace. He's got attack 7 to RCS's 4. He's going to have an infinitely faster Goomba fight, assuming they both clear the dungeon on this attempt to get through.
Yeah, that is, part of what I was going to allude to. RoseCitySaint more than likely won't go above attack 5, maybe attack 6 by the time he's in Great Palace, whereas jkoper, yes, he's losing time right now because of his magic levels being a hindrance to progress. He just took a death because he couldn't cast Fairy to get himself out of taking a dip into the sauna, for example. But
yeah, and now dead end RCS about a half minute. Elects to walk all the way back. I don't think it was that many rooms to get to the junction that led to this dead end. If I'm jkoper, I might take an up an A since I'm already down a man after getting bopped into the lava. But I'm not the one playing this race, folks, so we'll defer to the runner's judgment, of course. jkoper getting harassed by that Hammer Brother.
yeah, the regular old Guma just not having any part of it. jkoper getting rejected by the flying skulls. And as you said,
and now after that second death, it's like, all right, yeah, let's take an up an A here. There's still a lot of the dungeon I have. It's always good to have some insurance there. Our runners aren't making it look particularly tough, but Zelda 2 Vanilla is a difficult game, and the randomizer can compound things quite a bit. So it's always good to have some extra guys in reserve.
Yeah, jkoper would have been on his last life, so partially why he chose to up an A at that point, if for no other reason than to reset his lives. jkoper going to have to do a little bit of backtracking because of it.
RCS had a little bit of trouble with a dripper, and he finds an elevator with all the options in the world, so basically the hub area of Palace 5. Still a ton of rooms we haven't seen, though. Heading to the left, so you know RCS is looking for that item. And you know jkoper's looking for that item, because we saw him head to the left before taking the restart as well. So both of the runners thinking that there's a very good chance that the glove could be deep in Palace 5 here.
RoseCitySaint fortunately finding a key, so this will also help in that every key basically saves you a cast of the fairy spell. So the survivability on RoseCitySaint's side of things into, not having to take any, I don't want to call them needless, but unfortunate deaths just to refill magic. This is getting mitigated by the key, and it looks like RoseCitySaint has found his way to Boss Guma.
Yeah, he's going to be the first one to Guma. And Guma health than usual, so that's good news for RCS with his mediocre level 4 attack. jkoper just took his magic level 4 crossing the bridge room there. He's decided that he wants his magic to be just a little more castable at this point, and who can blame him?
Yeah, I think jkoper's just simply had enough of having to die pretty much any time he casts Fairy because he was unable to cast it a second time. With that said, RoseCitySaint now taking a clear advantage at this point, dunking his gem, so that's 3 palaces down for RoseCitySaint. But, plot twist. RoseCitySaint headed to the left.
He's heading back in. He wants to that item.
So the race is still on, as it were. If RoseCitySaint stumbles a little bit in trying to find the item room, this will allow jkoper to get back into the race, as it were.
Well, based on what we've just seen from that dead end from jkoper going through the eco key room, which is somewhere RCS did not go, jkoper's going to head down the elevator and be faced with all the decisions that RCS just had. RCS has found the item by going right at the first juncture. And it's just a heart container. It's not the glove at all.
Oh.
So we're looking at either glove in 2 or glove on the desert tile in the eastern overworld. Those are the only places left it can be. RCS is going to be the first out of Palace 5, having full cleared it though. Koper heading to the right on the first intersection here on the elevator. So if he follows this pass through, he's going to find that heart container. Probably be a little annoyed that it's not the glove, but once he gets back to that elevator and goes down to the right, he'll be fighting Gooma as well. So right now, probably about a minute and change lead for RCS, I would say.
That seems to be a fair assessment at this point, but jkoper not wanting any part of that particular room, choosing to reverse course.
That room is a dead end, so no need to go through there.
Okay, so my palace routing is at best terrible, but jkoper does find his way to the item, so there's a reason why I do the word things, because anymore I'm just not good enough to hang with the runners here in the randomizer, so I put my talents to better use with the commentary, I think. Some may disagree, but, well, too bad for them. But all that aside, I think jkoper finding the item, so this means he's an elevator ride down.
Yeah, and he's heading right away, so it's going to be Gooma for Koper after wisely refilling his magic. It's going to be a much faster boss battle for him with that attack level 7 compared to RCS. It should be like a 2, maybe 3 hit kill, honestly, with Gooma's low life bar.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 shots from Koper and Gooma's out of there.
I'm an optimist. Deal with it.
I cannot fault your optimism there, but jkoper now completely finished with Palace 5, and it looks like RoseCitySaint finding Valley of Death, so that's going to lead them to Palace 2, and a potential area where the glove could be.
Yeah. RCS deliberate with those feet, but pulls them up. Skips 2 of the encounters there. Looks like this one he's just going to elect to get a random encounter over the tile. I mean, it's not the most ideal random encounter, being a graveyard space, but it's not a lava space, so that's alright. Going to take an up and A to refresh resources, and RCS is on to Palace numero 2.
Yeah, it's still better than trying to take the forced encounter in Valley of Death, so I would take the graveyard tile even still. There's just about nothing I would actually want to replace with the forced encounter in Valley of Death, where I go, wow, I would rather have Valley of Death encounters instead of this.
I don't think there's ever a situation where you'd rather have Valley. I can't think of one. No matter how bad the enemies could be, at least there's not death pits, right? Right?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, wow.
Look at this combination of nastiness for RCS. A Hammer Brother and 2 blue Iron Knuckles. He's able to get by with minimal damage. Gonna use Jump to get up this way. Preparing spells. He finds a glove-blocked room. Well, the glove isn't over there. Where does RCS go next as jkoper continues to wander around on the east? Based on what we know, you have to think that jkoper is probably looking for the entrance to the Valley of Death as well at this point.
Yeah, it would not surprise me. One potential advantage RoseCitySaint may have right now is I believe he has upstab. I am not sure if jkoper does. But what jkoper has just done is spot the Valley of Death, so it's very likely jkoper will join RoseCitySaint in Palace 2.
Before too long, yeah.
So RoseCitySaint navigating a lava bridge. jkoper, unfortunately,
Yeah, there it is.
50-point
There's
teabag.
there's the teabag on the desert tile. So yeah, glove is in 2, confirmed at this point. Unless we've somehow miscalculated something, RCS should be picking up his glove in about 10 seconds. And there it is.
Yeah, I was going to say, the only thing that is an unknown to us is the idea of the hint for what Horsehead had, and I think the runners had to have gotten it because neither runner got the item out of P1, but what they were looking for was definitely in P2. RoseCitySaint finding the glove, which will now unlock the final palaces 3 and 6. If there were glove blocks in them, they don't matter anymore.
No, you are absolutely right. RCS is definitely able to think it's a matter of brutalizing the bosses and getting through the Great Palace, which can still be a great equalizer. RCS definitely out in front of Koper by about 2 minutes at this point, I would say. But the race still has yet to be decided. RCS finds Helmet Head, the boss of Palace 2, and, well, he's gone. He didn't have any health whatsoever, the way that the randomizer generated it, so, well,
it looked like that was... it was a fight. It looked like RoseCitySaint took 2 bars from the first hit, left him with 1 left after the second hit. So Helmet Head not exactly meant to be hit by attack 5, so his overall HP pool just getting annihilated by...
We might even see a one-hit kill for jkoper when he gets there.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to speculate, if it was going to be 1 or 2 hits from jkoper for Helmet Head.
jkoper taking an up and A after finding the glove here in Palace. It might be faster than going back as RCS did. It's gonna be close, honestly. So, maybe a small time game for jkoper by electing to do that? Hard to say. He doesn't know where Helmet Head is yet, though, so... yeah, I definitely don't think it's this way. So maybe that up and A gonna cost Koper just a little more time. He's playing awesomely, but outside of one mental mistake in Palace 4, going back the way to the item after he'd already picked it up and having to take an up and A, this has been a very, very, very close race. jkoper finds a dead end here, and yeah, he's electing to walk back out. No, he realizes it's faster to restart. So yeah, there's a bit of a time loss here. RCS is heading into 3 or 6. We'll find out which one it is very shortly. No locked door, so this is Palace number 3 for RCS here, the one right by the raft dock.
All right, so RoseCitySaint into Palace 3, onto essentially the home stretch, as it were, of this particular seed. jkoper still trying to navigate through Palace 2. I believe he does know what the right way to the boss should be after eliminating all of the unfortunate obstacles. Perhaps we should get a timer on when RoseCitySaint finishes Palace 3 compared to jkoper. Oh wow, that was a fight.
That no, it wasn't. That was a slaughter.
But that's like the fight where I just like, walk up to somebody and I'm like, Speed's like kill, and they go down and there's just nothing they can do about it. It's like, yeah, you're done. Thanks for playing though.
Yeah.
Oh, RoseCitySaint getting...
Koper defeats Helmet Head, and he's back to the start here. So we know you have to go through that pass-through cave, falling into the graveyard to get to the raft tile, so that's what Coper has to do here as RCS continues to plow through Palace 3. Really can't imagine either of them taking different routes in Palace 3. So, yeah, you know what? As you said, Frico, maybe have a look at the time as RCS places that gem at the end of this palace, and we'll have an idea of what the difference is. Oh, look at this! RCS actually electing to pick up the magic key.
Well, I think
not necessary.
I think process of elimination said, okay, if it's not 2, then it has to be 3. But it also isolated the location of where the key is. We know it's not 6 or anywhere else because we had the hint.
Oh, we knew where the key was since like 2 minutes in because they both found a hint for it.
Oh yeah, that's right. Minor little details that escape me from time to time.
That's all right, Frico. No, something that I kind of wonder about there. I mean, Palace 6 does have a lot of doors, so it could potentially be a time save. But Palace 6 could also be really short, and RCS might have just given jkoper about 20 seconds there. We'll just have to wait and see here. Coper is right behind him into Palace 3 here. He's got the whole palace to do, whereas RCS is just finishing it. So yeah, like you said, Frico, let's compare the time when they place the gem in the statue, and that'll give us an idea of where they both are right now.
Yeah, because they're both very straightforward with what they have to do at this point. So let's use RCS's time of 104.36 as when he placed the gem. And now we'll compare that to where jkoper ends up. I have no clue as to if jkoper is going to try to fetch the item out, or if he will try to just go, okay, the only thing I need to do here... Well, he's actually going to take a walk and go look for a key, find it's a pea bag, and...
Yeah, cast his fairy spell and ran out of mana, so... hoping there was a key there. There wasn't, but still take... You can go back and keep going here.
So, one way or another, unfortunately, jkoper has to take a death. He could not get through that key door. RoseCitySaint was in a similar situation with that particular...
he took a death at a different key door.
Yeah, so the death at a key door kind of equalizing each other out as both runners had to do that exact same thing. But it looks like...
Coper's not going to pick up the magic key. He's going to keep going. So, depending on how much you have to do in Palace 6, it could be interesting. Well, he just saw that locked door, so looks like he's going to kill himself on this Iron Knuckle here. I thought for a moment maybe he was thinking, I should just go get the magic key?
That was actually...
Yeah, actually, it looks like that's what he's going to do here. He's setting himself up for that... Okay, yeah, just cast the jump spell. That lip jump is difficult to set up, I understand. So, yeah, Coper is going to go pick up the magic key here.
Alright, so at this point, right here, right now, Coper is a little over 2 minutes behind. We're working at about 2.5 minutes. But jkoper does have a straight shot to the boss, and should be able to take Rebanak out quicker, having attack 7 compared to what I believe was attack 5 for RoseCitySaint at the time.
That's a figure of speech where is a faster not going to amount to too much, 2-ish seconds maybe. Coper will have to hit it 1 or 2 less times. It's not going to matter a whole lot, unfortunately.
Well, it does look like
high
Coper...
attack is nice, but you're really, if you're going to play high attack, the idea is to try to rig it so you can increase your other levels, which at least as far as this dungeon goes, Coper has been able to do. He's going to get a huge chunk of experience for the rest of his stats. Once Rebanock steps under his downstab, there it is. But RCS has just run into Barba in Palace 6, and Barba's gone. So we've got basically a full Palace difference between both of our runners right now. It's still not over yet. Great Palace can be a very wacky thing, and if we see some different decisions, that could still potentially turn things in jkoper's favor. But while this race was insanely close for the first 40 minutes or so, one mental mistake from jkoper has basically been the difference so far.
Well, right now, judging by the metric of what we're using, the end of Palace 3, jkoper is 3.5 minutes behind. So he has lost a little bit of time due to that low magic level kind of biting him in the butt. And
actually, the magic level, not the big thing. Remember when he found the up in different direction, whereas RCS just turned around and went right and the boss was there. That's the other big difference there.
Yeah.
But that one is a play that could have potentially paid off. You can't put that on Koper. That's just bad luck. What you unfortunately can put on Koper is that mental mistake where he went back to the right in Palace 4. That was a basically a free minute for RCS there in a very tight race. So RCS is going to be the first into Great Palace here. jkoper making his way through 6, which was not very long, and as long as you follow the logic, you'll get to Barba pretty quickly here. So what this race, like most others, is going to come down to, well, is Great Palace going to be, free? The first person there is going to win, basically, no matter what. Is Great Palace going to be difficult? Is it going to be a gigantic maze? We're just going to have to wait and see what happens here, folks. Well, one thing I do want to say, though, is that I really do not like the background in this Great Palace. It's got a pink color. It's got those bricks with all those little, dots on them. If you're fighting Thunderbird with this background, those fireballs are going to be very difficult to see. So that could be a problem for our runners. Even the highest leveled runners, if with the wrong background, can struggle to dodge the fireballs from Thunderbird.
Yeah, that is a very true statement. Now, looking at how long it took RoseCitySaint, jkoper has a 3.5 minute disadvantage time-wise, and that's almost exactly how long it took RoseCitySaint to get to and defeat Barba. Oh, RoseCitySaint taking a bath.
Getting bopped into the lava there. Unfortunate.
That is going to unfortunately cost him a little bit of time. But, at this point, even if jkoper executes, I don't think he's going to be able to gain any time on RoseCitySaint until he makes it into the Great Palace. And then it'll be a question of...
It's gonna, unless RCS is somehow gets a game over. I can't see either of these guys getting a game over, no matter how difficult the Great Palace. But unless RCS, takes a game over somewhere, I don't think it's too likely. Well, RCS found a dead end that he was not happy with at all. So he's starting over from scratch here. There's still a potential that Koper could go a different way and shorten the gap, but even then, he's still behind RCS, who is taking his second run into Great Palace right now.
Well, the lead is holding at about 3.5 minutes for when both of the runners finished placing their gem in Palace 6. So now I expect the lead to be about the same. It should be about 113 for jkoper to make it to the Great Palace and take the curtain down. So,
well, Koper might have gotten a few seconds. Unfortunately, you can't do too much in the swamp, but you got one battle on the way to Great Palace from North Palace. Definitely a little better than RCS there. So he's right in there. He's going to make a race of this yet.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's still, right around the it's a little under 3.5 minutes now. 3:15, 3:20.
If we're being completely honest here, even though RCS has more knowledge about the way this Great Palace is set up right now, he's half a screen behind jkoper right now. If jkoper lucks himself into the right path to get to Thunderbird and Dark Link, he's suddenly ahead here. So
Yeah.
this could still be a very, very interesting finish, folks.
You are
What has
very
been
much
a
so
very,
correct.
very tight race so far, I have to say.
RoseCitySaint did have a 3.5 minute exploration advantage. However, if that does not lead to finding the correct path for RoseCitySaint, then he's basically just wasted that 3.5 minute advantage that he has. So you are right. jkoper could find the correct way. RoseCitySaint, all the same, could find the correct way just from eliminating all of the other possibilities, which will, of course, take more time. So as the runners run through the palace, now we have to see, okay, did jkoper go in a direction that RoseCitySaint did?
For RCS and another up and A restart. Oh my. But now, here's something very interesting. jkoper just found the first dead end that RCS found, but he didn't take an up and A. He's going back and he's going left. And this is leading to, well, a dead end. A dead end that you fall into.
Alright,
But,
so
jkoper's
jkoper...
going to go back on foot. His last junction wasn't too far away. This is going to be really close, I think, at this point. I think this is going to be a very, very close race. RCS being a little too liberal on the up and A's in Great Palace, I think, so far, may have given jkoper an opportunity to cut that 3-minute deficit. Maybe not entirely, but by a little bit for sure.
Well, in all fairness, it's tough to say at this point if RoseCitySaint is in kind of like a full-on panic mode, as it looks like jkoper is now taking an up and A as well.
jkoper has taken an up and A, but he found 2 dead ends on one playthrough, whereas RCS has been up and Aing at every dead end that so far. So there's definitely a little bit of time gain for jkoper there as well. Another dead end for RCS here. Wow.
Oh, this is so brutal.
So at this point, you know that you have to take a fall, because we've seen basically everything else. The first person to take a fall is going to be slightly ahead of the other. But the scary thing there is, after you take that first fall, there's another fall that just takes you way back into the dead end that they both found pretty early on. So, oh man, it's getting very interesting here. Very interesting, folks.
Well, unfortunately for jkoper, it looks like he's going the same way as RoseCitySaint went before. So, unfortunately, this story is going to have the same ending for jkoper as it did for RoseCitySaint.
Well, not necessarily, because the dead end isn't too far away from that fairy elevator room. RCS going a different way now. Yeah, I believe where RCS is going, this is going to lead into a guaranteed drop. Unless it's the one elevator room we haven't seen. The one elevator and you can go left and right room that we haven't seen, I mean. So, RCS should be going the correct way. jkoper's in a paperclip room as well. I don't know if it's the same one RCS... No, it's definitely not.
Yeah, it is.
So, yeah,
well, it was the one that RCS was in, unfortunately. Yeah. So
when he took his last up and A, jkoper's going to walk back. It's only 3 rooms. It's 6 rooms to get to the ferry elevator. Oh no, another dead end for RCS. Oh my.
Ay, ay, ay.
This is gonna be something.
So, the runners have found all the dead ends at this point, haven't they?
Actually, no.
We have one more left.
Of
Oh, joy.
One reset that RCS took was in the bottom half of the room he just found the dead end for. He didn't want to go down the hole because he'd already found a dead end and thought that it wouldn't be the right way. He must know that that's the correct way now. But...
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's brutal.
It's a matter of who can get to that room first. jkoper up into the Jackamus room, heading left. This might be a lead change. I think this was the way RCS went. I think this was it. I don't know if it was left or up from here. Coper's heading left first. Okay, RCS found it first. RCS found it first, so he's back. No, wait a minute. Didn't we see this room already? Well, jkoper's right behind him.
Didn't he?
jkoper right behind him. Oh my lord. This is insanity. RCS not wanting to take the drop. Thinking it could take him back. He's going to head left. jkoper's going to head right. We haven't seen any other drop rooms other than that one that we know is a dead end here. This could come down to where this drop takes jkoper. Oh no! It takes him to the upper portion of that. So no, it's not the right way. So RCS must be on the right path right now. There is there are still two places that you can drop down from that we haven't seen, and one of them might be required. If another drop down is required, I mean RCS could still potentially take the wrong one and lose all his progress. This is quite the great palace. RCS has found Thunderbird, but we know there's still two drops remaining after this. It's looking good for RCS, but there might still be a 50-50 shot as to whether or not you're going to be able to get to the end. We'll just have to wait and see. RCS with that attack level 6, going to work on Thunderbird here. One hit will finish him.
No.
Oh, there it is. Oof. Commentator's curse. I apologize, folks, there. He got pinned in the corner. That's unfortunate. At least has enough to get a shield spell up here on top of the Thunder. Second tries a charm with that full health bar. You have to hope at life level 7 and shield up, he should be able to take a couple of hits here as he tries to take Thunderbird out. 2 health bars down, 12 hits to go. I think that was a triple. Missed a shot there. Oof, only got 1 and took damage. Not ideal. Taking some damage. RCS getting pinned into a bad spot here. Okay, he's going to throw up Reflect there, so he's going to start being able to at least not take damage from those fireballs as long as they hit the shield part of his sprite before him. Okay, there it is. Finishes him off with a nice triple. So Thunderbird down for RCS. Coper looking to get back to where he was and is going to have to go left, not take that drop.
Well,
so here we go. It's decision time. You have the Eon drop, and if you don't want to take that, I'm pretty sure the next room is going to be another drop. It's going to be a 50-50 shot here. Or no, it's just Dark Link. If you take Eon drop, it leads you to that other drop that takes you back.
Well, if by
barring a complete disaster here, this should be RCS's race, but jkoper just walking into the Thunderbird room, he's definitely gained some ground in Great Palace.
Yeah, unfortunately, it looks like not enough.
RCS. Ooh, jkoper also hit by a stray fireball from Thunder as RCS, his evil counterpart, and he is going to be your winner tonight with an official finishing time of 1 hour, 22 minutes, and a second. I have to say, that's pretty pathetic. Not even sub 82.
Yeah, completely, behind our expectations of this race. So, I think, especially with that Thunderbird fight, RCS is usually so clean when it comes to the weeklies that I think the tournament setting and being up against such a quality opponent.
I think the pressure might have gotten to him on because
Yeah.
even in his fight where he defeated Thunderbird, he definitely took a lot of avoidable damage there. And you know, I can understand that. You know, being in a tournament there, you can definitely, you know, feel the pressure there when you're this late in the race, and you know you're up against a quality opponent. You haven't seen that dot done yet. You know it's going to be a close one as jkoper finds Dark Link here. So Dark Link's not going to be a long fight for Coper here. So at one point, he was about 3.5 minutes behind after we finished Palace 6, and just in Great Palace alone, he gained nearly 2 minutes over RCS. Unfortunately, wasn't enough tonight here, but very, very good race between both of our competitors here.
Well, I think I hear an intruder alarm, so I believe we are joined by RoseCitySaint.
Yes, you are. That seed was something else. I really, really hated it a lot.
So that seed was effectively 100%.
Oh God, yeah, and not just 100% of the items
that you could safely ignore. I mean,
yeah, there was not only 100% of the items, but 100% of GP too. That was really, really bad. Like, I don't recall maybe ever having to up an A out of the start of GP so many times. Was that maybe 5 or 6 up and A's because of
it was at least 6 by my count.
Yes, that was ridiculous. That was just way
there
too
was,
many.
There was one time that you up and A'd when you found the drop, and I can understand why you did that because you found a dead end. But I think that drop ended up putting you on the correct path after all, right? So
I don't recall. I remembered seeing a drop after I'd already seen the top half of the L7 room, and so I knew you better skip that. And then there was the drop that was right after T-Bird, which, yeah, there was no way in hell I was taking that. I don't recall saying no thank you to a potentially okay drop. If I did, then I miscalculated something.
Yeah, you took an up and A when you were at the bottom half of the Medusa heads and blocks room where you have to break the blocks to fall down. You took an up and A there early on.
I don't remember even seeing that room. The bottom half of that room. I remember seeing the top half and knowing, okay, well, this is a dead end and this is a bad drop. And I also
I am positive you took an up and A there early on after seeing that dead end. I may be wrong. I've been wrong before. Unbelievable.
At least
you did that.
What I think you're thinking is I up and A'd early. I headed left into a room and there was a dead end. It was a drop destination room that had the bubbles jumping around. And that was another good clue not to take any late drops that I didn't have to.
Well, before you ask your next question, jkoper did finish with a time of 1:23:43, so about a minute 42 difference between the two runners. So a very close race between the two of you, and I believe we are also joined by jkoper at this point as well.
Looks like we have him with us as well. jkoper, unfortunate that one of the both of you extremely talented players had to take the L tonight there, but how did you think that seed went for you other than that?
It went pretty well, I think. I don't have too many regrets. I don't know if I saw both item caves in the east. It's my only real question. But other than that, I think it played out pretty well, and minute and a half difference, like you said. Anything could have gone differently to make that make up that time, and I'm pretty sure I saw like every dead end in GP, so that's not the kind of GP I was hoping for on entering. And
you may be surprised, Coper, but actually allowed you to catch up more than 2 minutes on RCS from where you were before. Before I go too much further, I'd recommend both of you.
I'm sorry, I lost all of what you just said there.
Yeah, you were unfortunately dropping out, Jack.
Am I okay now? I might have been too far away from my microphone.
You're fine now.
Okay. So as I was saying, Coper, you actually caught up nearly 2 minutes on RCS in Great Palace. RCS was very up and A happy on finding dead ends, whereas you correctly realized that you were maybe 2 or 3 rooms off from another direction and would go back and check it that way. The big thing that we pointed out, because like you guys were changing leads basically the entire way through the first 45 minutes or so. Like you explored in very similar ways and it was so close. jkoper, do you remember in Palace 4 where after finding the item and taking an up and A, you went down the elevator, cast fairy to go through the key, realized that you were in the area that simply looped around itself with the item and then took an up and A. Like that was honestly the big difference in this race there. You lost about a minute and change there. And other than that, like you both just completely nailed this one. It was so close.
Yeah, I don't get where you get a minute out of that, but yeah, that doesn't make up a minute and a half. But together,
I'm guesstimating, to be fair, but
yeah.
That was the main thing I saw on your end. Otherwise, it was just like crazy close.
Yeah, between that and the Thunderbird death, I guess those were the most tangible mistakes that I made.
I also took a death to T-Bird too.
Yeah. You both died on T-Bird, and believe it or not, Coper, you had the cleanest T-Bird fight with the win there. Like RCS, we were even talking about it on the broadcast there. And we were thinking, like, are you feeling any pressure at that point after you die to T-Bird once? You take the next fight there, you know you're up against a good opponent there. It didn't look like you were yourself in that fight there. You were able to get it done, but were you on tilt or anything at that point? Maybe.
No, that's funny though, because that's like the Jackamus special, right? Is the T-Bird with a red background fight? It makes you go cross-eyed.
We did mention that as well.
Yeah, we've seen what that does to even the best players. It wasn't like a white knuckle situation. It was just I entered with low health to begin with. Even one shot, even with shield, killed me, and that's all that happened. It wasn't tilt and it wasn't anything like that. It was just a red background and just one unfortunate fireball. But I cashed reflect the next time and I went a little more ham.
I made a new strat on the second fight that I don't think has been used before I cast spell. Because I was I thought I still had Thunder queued, but I had been paging through my spells looking, can I cast reflect, and then I couldn't. So I stopped halfway towards scrolling to reflect in my spell menu. And
if anyone asks, that gives you a more favorable pattern.
Yes, sure. Even though Thunderbird is like completely deterministic, I think.
Yeah.
It's an AI minute is what it is. We'll call it that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll go RCS first. Any final thoughts on your first race of the tournament here?
Yeah, this was just a rough one mentally to have to so thoroughly complete a seed and then have such a really crappy GP after. I mean, I tell you, in this situation there were no winners. This was not a good. I hope the next one is just a little more smooth. I mean, to finish in 122 is a fine time, but I mean, this one really made you go through all the nooks and crannies.
Well said. Good luck to you in your next round.
Thank you.
Any final thoughts on your first race here?
No, I knew I had a tough opponent. I sure didn't get embarrassed. That's for sure. That my practice the last few days haven't always gone well. I figured the most important thing was probably getting a good night's sleep, and I made sure to do that. So, yeah, just looking forward to the rest of the races and getting into the bracket, see what happens there.
Absolutely. And as we were...
Oh no,
you dropped off again.
You end up matched up with, right? What?
You dropped off again.
What did I say?
You said,
no, did I?
Yep.
Yeah.
I said yeah.
We heard a whole bunch of nothing. You said like a word and then about 3-4 seconds of silence and then another word.
Well, if that's the case, Frico, I'll let you finish things off here. Let's go, Bruins.
Nice.
All right, so do either of you have any kind of expectation out of the Swiss stage aside from, all right, okay, I took a win, I took a loss, so what? I'm just gonna get my 2 wins and make sure I get through brackets? Or is there any kind of expectation of, all right, I'm RoseCitySaint, I'm, the defending standard champion, so time to put my foot down? And
Yeah. Yeah, you do want to keep it as clean as possible. I think there's 5 rounds. I think you actually need 3 wins to get to brackets. But yeah,
oh
if you
wow,
if you can keep it clean as clean as possible, and you can achieve 4 or 5 wins, that puts you in better position in the early stages of the brackets, so that you get to face the quote unquote weaker opponents in the early stages of brackets, rather than facing a top caliber player right out of the chute and putting yourself in a risky position. So I do think it's important, if you can, like, once you hit your 3 wins, not to let your foot off the gas. I think that's very important.
Well, I kind of feel sorry for jkoper's next opponent, because there's a very good chance they're going to be staring at an 0-2 record to start and having to win out just to have a shot at brackets at that point. So, wow, I thought it was actually 2 wins out of 4 matches, but I guess I did not look at this year's format. 3 out of 5 is
3 out of 5, yeah.
Ooh, that's gonna be a little bit tougher, because now you got to be above 500 instead of just, removing the mediocrity from the field of, I've got a 500 record, I can make it through.
Yeah, that pretty much just guarantees that you need to beat someone that's at least of medium caliber. You know what I mean? You can't just lose, face a weak opponent, face a weak opponent. You'd have to, at some point to get into brackets, beat someone, a substantial, someone that's a proven winner.
That is true. Well, I guess the bracket stage will be much shorter as well, because less people will make it through. One way or another. To both of you, good luck going forward, and hopefully, jkoper, you can pick up a couple wins. I think about any other opponent that you get, a time like this is probably good enough to win by a wide margin.
Probably against most people, but there's plenty of good people in this tournament too. So there will be tough people in the 0-1 and probably even 0-2 as well. But either way, I'm not worried about it. I'll just play the games as they come to me, and I'm have some faith that I'll get into the bracket eventually. But thanks for doing all the commentary, restream, and tracking, everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. For Jackamus, my co-commentator, it looks like we are getting the hook as we're about to wrap things up. So, for Jackamus, my co-com, I wish you both good luck going forward. RoseCitySaint, hopefully you go undefeated through the group stage. Don't show any chinks in the armor for anybody to think you're not at the top of your game anymore.
Yeah, that would be quite an accomplishment to run the table. I'll be trying. Hey, thanks for the restream and the commentary. Appreciate it, everyone. See you later.
All right, have a good night, Rose City. And with that said, Jackamus doing double duty as the tracker and co-commentator as well. So I believe that's going to finish things up here for us tonight with Zelda 2. I believe they are trying to find someone to raid. I'm not sure who it is.
Oh, I've already got somebody in mind.
Oh, you do have somebody in mind. All right, so Shadow Magi, I turn things over to you as we're done here. So we're about ready to shut it down.
Well, you did forget one thing. Just reminding people, there's 2 matches tomorrow for this tournament itself. one at 9 p.m. Eastern and another at 11:30 p.m. Eastern. And then there's also 2 other races before that tomorrow, the Ocarina of Time Freaky Friday race and Link to the Past Cross Keys race between Andy and Violet Pumpkin.
Well, I didn't want to take all of the things that you could have said away from you. I wanted to leave you with something, Shadow Major.
Yeah, you're good with it. It doesn't matter to me. Anyways, anything from either of you before I send everybody off here? Yeah, we'll just server mute that one.
Yeah, finally lost his mind, and mine's been gone for years now, so I just kind of adjust and move on. But with that said, that'll do it for us tonight. And Shadow My J, take it away. Send us off. Launch the raid party. Away we go.